This episode of the Made in Spain podcast is powered by GoCo Energy, clean natural energy for life at the speed of go. Welcome everyone, Made in Spain podcast season 5. Who would have thought?
We did.
Yay!
That's why we're here.
My name is Laura Senior Garcia.
I'm Nalini Sharma. And this has been our journey. We're into season 5. We've gone south quite a bit.
Yes, and we're going to continue to go south, and then we'll take a big U-turn and go north at some point. This country has a lot to offer.
Oh my gosh. And we're just scratching the surface. We're going to start today with the town of Cadiz.
So we have today's episode is Cadiz and the art of flamenco.
Okay. And that's going to be very interesting. So please stay with us on this journey south.
Stay with us on the journey south. And I would like to say, if you don't follow us already, if you happen to land on this season 5, episode 1 by some magical way and you haven't heard the other seasons, I think you're going to have a lot of interesting episodes to listen to. You can start here. You know, there's no beginning or end. But at the same time, I think you're going to be really interested to listen to some of our earlier episodes on different parts of Spain. So please, 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 if you don't follow us already, hit follow, subscribe. All the things that you know to do if you're a podcast follower. It makes a tremendous difference to what we can do with this project. Also, if you can recommend us to other people, if you like the podcast.
Yeah, please do.
If you'd like to leave a rating, we very, very much appreciate it.
Absolutely. All right, let's get into our trip to Cadiz. It is, I will say, from where we are, which is close to Alicante. If you understand just the basic geography of Spain, we are in the southwest and you have to go, we're in the southeast and you have to go to the southwest, which common sense would dictate that you could fly directly from Alicante to Sevilla and then trek from there. However, that is not the case. You have to fly train, either to Madrid or Barcelona or Valencia and then fly back. You have to go in the opposite direction to get back, or you could drive to Sevilla, which from where we are is 6+ hours.
7.
Yeah, it's a drive. So
and to Cadiz is another hour and a half.
Yes.
So you're looking at from here to Cadiz, it's almost 8 hours and a half.
Yeah, it's a big drive. I mean, if we drove in the opposite direction, you would be in France.
But Nalini did say something very interesting when we were there. It's like a lot of people apparently go like Alicante, Morocco, and then take the ferry.
Right, because you can, I think it's possible to sort of see not quite, but it's close enough that people, I think they do that.
Of course, yeah. So if you think about it, so first of all, we're going to Cadiz. Normally, most of our time has been spent on the Med. Cadiz is on the Atlantic Ocean.
Right. Very
close to Gibraltar, which I am not getting a lot of momentum and trying to convince people to go to Gibraltar, but I do want to go.
Yeah.
It's a very odd place, like basically monkeys, and it's a, UK, part of the UK at the tippy tip of Spain, which
I think. What do
I
you
think
mean there's monkeys?
There's monkeys everywhere.
In Gibraltar?
In Gibraltar.
Why?
I don't know. But these monkeys are absolutely everywhere, and they're pretty aggressive as well.
Okay, I'm not going.
Oh no, I shouldn't have said it.
I'm not going.
I
don't understand. What is with monkeys?
They're like those, I'll show you after we finish the recording of our
let's
episode.
Let's not veer off topic now. I'm a little horrified that there's monkeys all
everywhere.
Over Gibraltar.
It's really funny. And I seen this guy, we're going to just go off 1 second and then we'll go back to Cadiz. But I seen this guy on social media that I thought was the most hilarious thing ever. Because there's a huge debate whether we shouldn't have given Gibraltar to the British and blah, blah, blah. There's a lot of Spanish people who feel very strongly about it.
Well, if they have monkeys, they can keep it.
Yeah. Well, this guy is walking around with like pictures of the royal family and going like this to the monkeys. This is your real king, And I'm like, and the monkey's looking at him like, what? What are you talking about, man? But I thought, anyway, that was really funny.
Okay.
So, Cadiz.
All right. So it is the longest continuously inhabited city in Western Europe. I mean, it's just a really long way of saying it's one of the oldest cities in Europe that has been inhabited.
And therefore one of the oldest cities in the world.
Exactly. Founded by the Phoenicians. It's older than Rome, apparently.
Yeah, because I'm looking here, 1,100 years before Christ.
So
Long
older
time ago.
than Rome. Officially, prior to being called Cadiz, Cadiz, it was Gadir, which is spelled Gadir. Is that correct?
Yep, Gadir.
Okay, so this is really cute. I thought, do you know what you call locals from Cadiz?
Gaditanos.
Yeah, I was like, that's
I
so
never
cute.
realized that.
Yeah, that's why. That's why, because that was the
that's so
original name
funny.
of the city. So you have to look at, when you look at a country like Spain, it has been ruled and fought over, has internal fighting for so many years that there's so much, I think, just transference of whether it's the culture or the language. Cities have changed hands. They've changed names. There were, for a period of time, part of Spain was occupied by France.
Yes.
Cadiz was a stronghold that was still under Spanish rule. So there's a very deep history there. But where Cadiz is located, first of all, you cross over this quite dramatic bridge.
Yes, it's huge. And that's one thing that, I hadn't actually been there before this time. And by the way, I kind of do feel like we need to go back at some point because we never got to the beaches. Because it was a very kind of like fast,
very
in and out.
whirlwind.
Yes.
48 hours, which I feel we could write an article or something for Condé Nast. But I mean, really a whirlwind 48 hours in Cadiz. But it is a port city. And you can see it from the way that it is built, the infrastructure of it.
As you drive into the city.
As you drive into it. So you go over this massive, very modern looking bridge, and then you are into Cadiz. But because it's so old, it is such an old, ancient city. The streets are so narrow. It's unbelievable, actually, that when
you look up, right?
When you look up, I mean, if you're claustrophobic, you might have trouble in these streets.
If you're claustrophobic,
tiny.
you're better off staying near the water or the port, because it is true that the streets are. Nalini pointed out, we were staying at an apartment downtown, that if you open the window, like it is violently close to your neighbor.
Your neighbor. Thank goodness we didn't have neighbors that the particular nights we were there. However, if we did, you could easily
throw them something from your window.
Throw them food.
Like, oh, you need salt? Here you go.
Yeah. So it is a port town, and because of that, it has a sort of a maritime history.
Hugely.
Christopher Columbus, on 2 of his voyages, sailed from the Bay of Cadiz. It is also where the first Spanish Constitution was signed.
Wow, I didn't know that.
Yeah, so in the early 1800s, that's where, because Spain controlled that part of its country while the French were still occupying other parts of Spanish territory. So I think when you drive into the city and you see it, it's just very, I would say it's just so dramatic because the Bay of Cadiz flows into the Atlantic. So it's this,
and you can see it.
You can see it. It's this dark kind of, it's just so vast, but so beautiful at the same time. And then as we were standing looking out at the view, we looked on the phone, of course, to see our location. And when you actually see where you are,
it's like you're in front of North Africa.
Right. You're so far down there. So I think being isolated, actually, the word Gadir translates into enclosed area.
Yeah, so it says Phoenician for walled city.
Right. One of the landmarks there, they have the cathedral, which took over 100, technically 116 years-ish to be completed. And the town of Cadiz was in competition with Sevilla to see who could build the nicest, most beautiful cathedral. And the dome is gold because it served as a beacon for sailors returning so that they would be able to see with the sun reflecting over it that, oh, okay, we're close to home.
so much history. And I have to say, we are going to cover Sevilla in another episode because we feel it deserves its own spotlight.
Yes.
But we did want to focus on Cadiz or Gadir, with the Phoenician history. But when you walk around Cadiz, you can feel it's different. I don't know how to explain it, but one of the things we saw is that, they have a very famous carnival there, but it's not a carnival like other carnivals.
Yeah.
It's more focused on humor and satire.
Oh, interesting.
So the Cadiz carnival is all about wit and satire and lyrical bite.
And
so
it's in the
they
spring,
compete
like
against each other.
In April?
It's the same. It's the same.
Okay.
Like the carnival is the same as like other carnivals happening around Spain, etc. Same date, but the focus is a little bit different.
Okay.
So they do more of these like little satirical, so I think it was like the one last year or the year before last, they did a whole float on Shakira breaking up with Piqué or something, and they had like a whole little song on it, and all these guys like dressed as Shakira. It was pretty funny. But they every year there's like a competition to see who has this best like satirical spectacle at the carnival. But it's very unique. And if you think about it, like you said, Port Town, all the history, all the influence, I think people from there in general are a little bit different. Like they're a bit unique.
It is, first of all, I mean, it's just a unique place to go. It is isolated in that you really have to make an effort to get there. Like you got to drive over the bridge to get there.
It's not like Sevilla or,
No, you really have to make an effort to get there. But once you're there, you're sort of in really this enclosed city. It is so tight. It's so close. But I also feel that everybody must know everybody. It would be impossible not to. Also, in that old town area.
The driving is not for the faint of hearted, because if you're driving a car in those streets, and by the way, people somehow do, they manage to,
We did.
Yeah, but I mean, like some of these turns, are like, I think you have to kind of be a little bit used to it, you could say.
Yeah, and brave. Yeah. Brave, because it's a forward, back, just to make a right turn.
So I think one of the things that actually really stood out to us as we drove into the city, that's worth mentioning, is the amount of people with big fishing rods.
Yes.
Who were basically, imagine like where you walk the promenade near a beach or something.
Right.
Or near the port. And you have just someone just standing there with a massive fishing rod, almost looks like a professional fishing rod.
I'm pretty sure they're catching big fish.
Yeah. So tuna is like
it's like a religion there.
Yes. Everything to do with like tuna tartare, the red tuna, that really high quality, lovely.
Actually delicious.
Delicious red tuna. So I think a lot of people were just fishing. It's like, oh, you finish work and it's like, oh, I'm going to go check if I can fish for a tuna. Because I mean, people hear fish, but it's almost like a joke when you see like the little rods and stuff.
No,
it's like, it's a different story.
Yeah, they're getting Atlantic cold water fish. So and you can see, we saw a guy, we didn't see what he had, but we saw his rod, and it's like, I was like, oh, that must be a big one that he got.
He was struggling. You could see it for sure.
We just had a lot to sort of walk around, see and do, but I would say Cadiz is you can spend definitely a long weekend there if you're traveling.
But again, if you're going beach, because they do have like, in the 50s, they used to talk about, the best beaches in Spain. Again, it's a different kind of beach.
Right.
For those who like the beach, it is a very different kind of beach, because it's not, obviously the water's cooler. Right. The beaches are more like wild, like sand dunes. There's a lot of surfing and even sand dune surfing. It's a different story. You're not talking about like the beaches in the Costa Blanca, which is more, you're kind of like, the water is so calm that it's almost like you're sitting next to a lake.
Yeah.
So it's very, very different. So I would definitely say if you're one of these, kind of more beach person, you're looking more at a week's trip than a weekend. And then also there's some great golf down there. So for people who want to go golfing, some of the best golf courses in the country are around that.
While Cadiz was, quite a successful over time. The history of the city was very successful, had a lot of money, a port town. Anytime that you have access to open water, a city is typically going to have a lot of money. But what happened is that when Spain started to lose its colonies in South America, the city started to lose its trade and then had a slow decline. And apparently there was a huge explosion, I think in the late 40s at an ammunition.
No way.
Yeah, because again, a port city, they had military bases there, and the explosion and the fires and the ensuing damage from that really had a huge impact on the city. And then when you look at where it is isolated. So you just think from a common sense perspective, you really have to make a point to get there and to be there. But it seems to be doing, I think, well, now there are quite, a few tourists, and they have now the massive cruise ships that I don't know if they dock there or they make a stop there, but we saw several.
I think they do dock there.
Yeah.
So, and they make stops there as well.
Yes.
So before we went on this trip, I wanted to do something to surprise Nalini and our travel partners, which were her son, Ertin, and my husband, Jeff. And I wanted to do something that would be memorable. And one of the things that comes to mind for someone who's not from the South, when we think about the South, is flamenco.
Right.
So what's interesting is that a lot of people think of flamenco and they think of Spain. They just think, Spain, flamenco, sangria, all this kind of stuff. But actually, for us, I think, if you think of flamenco, if you're from here, from this area, you think South. You think, Sevilla, Granada, Cadiz, all of that.
It's from the South.
It's from the South. At least here, yes, you have the people in Barcelona and the rumberos and all that. You have that. But if you think of like pure flamenco, you're thinking South.
Right.
So I thought, okay, try and do something that didn't feel touristy. Because I hate to say it, but it is true that there are a lot of really interesting tablao flamenco in Madrid, but they do feel very touristy.
Right.
Like when you go there, it feels like very, very touristy. Like it's a little show that's put on just for tourists. And it's a shame because you want to conserve, of course you want the tourism and you want people coming to visit, but you want to conserve some of the tradition. And kind of like when we talked about the Royal Equestrian School, yes, we were all tourists there, but there was still an essence of tradition that I think made it very unique instead of it feeling like it was turned into a tourist destination. That makes sense?
Exactly. I said after we saw the show, I said, I don't need to see another flamenco show. Like, in fact, if I was out somewhere and somebody, I would just say, no, I'm not going.
Yeah.
I don't need to. I've seen it. I don't need to see it again. Not that I don't appreciate, obviously the art, the craft, etc. But what we saw cannot be topped as far as I'm concerned.
In terms of tradition, obviously you could get much bigger, more famous, all of that. But in terms of, like if you were to say go to one of the tablao flamencos in one of the tourist spots that, it's going to feel very different.
Yeah.
So just by chance, because sometimes I do think, luck is on our side or whatever you want to call it. I was doing some research when we were going to go down there and I found this place called La Cueva del Pájaro Azul. Okay. So the cave of the blue bird.
Right.
We wrote to them, we got tickets and then...
Which we paid for, by the way.
100%. Yeah. Again, we're not being sponsored or anything like that. But after the show, Germán, shout out to Germán, who is very passionate about what he does, said if you want to sit back and, kind of ask some questions, I'll be happy to answer them. But before I get into the history of La Cueva del Pájaro Azul and a little bit of flamenco, as a non-Spanish person sitting there watching that show, what went through your mind?
First of all, I thought we were just like super lucky. And I sent her a message on Saturday or something. Yeah. I said, we might be have some kind of vision impairment because of all the things that we saw in a 24-hour period of time that you almost can't digest it. You're seeing the best of the best with the horses. And now you're seeing the best experience you could possibly have to watch flamenco, all within a space of 4 hours of each other.
Which is crazy. Like in the morning, we were watching horses dance.
And in the evening, we were watching flamenco. And again, you think, okay, where is this going to be? Maybe a little theater or...
Because it was... So the specific, right? We have a cave theme going on.
Yeah.
It wasn't a cave.
It wasn't a cave. It's a cave.
When you think of like caves, and I fully get where Nerlene is coming from, I would have never thought this cave was like downtown.
No, it's in the center of like, it's just in a neighborhood. You can't even say it's not in a neighborhood. I mean, people are out walking their dogs. They have the baby and the pram, going for a little evening cocktail. It is in the center of the city. There's this tiny little door. You gather on the outside. When it is time for the show, you are now called in party by party. So they announce your name. It's like doing a roll call in school. They announce your name and then you go in, which... When you're on the outside, you think, why are they doing this? This seems like a little dramatic. However, you realize why. Because the cave is no bigger than, a bedroom.
Yeah, it's like 38 people that can fit in there.
It's really small. And when each little group has a little table, like not a stable table either. One wrong move and everything's going to go flying. So you've got each little group has their own little table and you have to really squeeze in. And then you're there. There's no, I need to go to the bathroom or, goodness, if you had a coughing fit or something, I don't know what would, if somebody had a coughing fit, but you're stuck there.
Yeah, it's definitely worth being aware of because there is no phone reception.
No phone reception. You're not allowed to take pictures during the show.
Which again, fully understandable. And also it's worth understanding that you are going to something that has a little bit of, I don't know how to describe it, but there needs to be a level of respect.
100%. And then when the singer, she came out, the musician, the guitarist, and then the dancers, they came out. We were put right in front of the little stage. But when I say in front, we might as well have been sitting on the stage. That is how close they are to you. They are right next to you. And it is super intense. You go from standing outside, shuffling down the cave stairs, shuffling inside your little table.
You have a bottle of manzanilla that, you can kind of dive. You drink the whole bottle. Some serrano ham, some picos, which I have to say, that's pretty funny because they are like the crunchiest thing in the world and you're being asked to stay quiet. So it's kind of interesting watching people going like
is trying to eat these little, crunchy biscuits is the best way to describe it, but super loud on top of everything else. Those are the snacks that come with your ticket price. And then the performance starts, but it goes from
0 to 100.
0 to 1,000 in a split second with the singing, the guitar, and then the dancers come on, and then it really kicks off. It is explosive is the best way to describe it.
I love that. What I mentioned to Nalini is in an age of artificial intelligence and everything tech, here we are sitting in this cave, which is multiple thousands years old, and I'll just speak about some of the facts of the cave in a moment here. With no microphones. No speakers.
Nothing.
No nothing. These 4 artists, 1 guitar, her voice, the clapping, and the lady and the man dancing with the sound of their shoes against a tablao flamenco, which was literally a piece of wood.
Right.
That's it. For an hour. So it's very pure.
Very pure, very raw, and
guttural,
Very much so.
You cannot not be moved. And
no.
Actually, something that my husband said I thought it was quite, well described is it's almost like religious, but it's not. It's like somehow there isn't a religious part to it, but it feels like something like religious because it is so deep.
Right. And it's also, I don't know, I think on some level maybe a bit spiritual.
Yeah. I think that's the right way to describe it.
It's spiritual in a way because the emotion that they're putting into it and who would want to do that job? And like, it's not a job. You know what I mean? It's like a calling. It's like
a
you
calling.
have to do that. That's like in you. And every time you get on that stage, or the singing, or the guitar, it's just something that's in you that you have to express.
Exactly.
So,
I think they call it duende.
Okay.
Like el duende. When you have it or you don't.
Yes.
Because yes, you can learn.
Yeah.
You can learn to do flamenco. You can learn to do the dancing. You can learn to do these things. But it's not, I don't know how to describe it. I don't think the overall, what you can put across, I'm not sure you can learn that.
You cannot. It's impossible. And also, you would not be able to do it in that confined space. I mean, you might as well have had a private performance in your bathroom. Like that's how tight, that's how small it is. Like it's really small. You're packed in there. But that is honestly one of the really most interesting things I think that we've experienced. We've gone to a lot of things. We've seen a lot of things. We've had a lot of laughs. But
that was
this is
special.
something in a different realm.
Yeah.
You know?
I agree.
You got the gentleman who was super kind, super nice. He asked after if we wanted to stay back and ask a few questions. And I said to Laura, why don't you, he spoke no English. And I said, okay. So I listened to a few answers and then I kind of quietly walked.
Skedaddle.
Yeah, skedaddle, because he was really not taking a breath. Went outside. My son was downstairs with you. I went outside with your husband. We were standing there talking. And I said, do you think you could call Laura and pretend that we want to leave, because it's 10:30 or 10:45. Jeff says, there's no phone reception down there. And he goes, maybe I should go in and check. And I go, okay, fine. He goes in and checks. After the last set of people came out, which is a good now half an hour after the show's finished, the last set of people have come out. He goes in and the lady closes the door on me. So now I'm standing in this little back alley in
Cadiz.
A town that I don't know anybody. I'm clearly a foreigner. And I thought, oh, this is great. So I'm trying to call my son. I think, this is not a good idea. This is where things can go badly very quickly. Thankfully, my son came out, and then your husband was still stuck in there.
Well, the big thing, so I want to say I could have stayed for 2 hours.
He was giving you a history lesson.
But not just that, the place is unreal.
Yeah.
So if you don't mind, I'm going to take a minute to just share a few things. So the cave itself, which is La Cueva del Pájaro Azul, is underneath the Barrio del Pópulo. And it is Phoenician. It is from the shipyard, and they think it's about 2,300 years old, at least.
Like everything in the town.
Yeah. So archaeologists found the remains of the Penteconteras, which is a 25-meter warships that were carved directly into the stone dogs. So the Phoenicians were building these ships, and you can actually see the shape of the cave is in the shape of one of these ships. So they would build them, and it's kind of like, a little bit on a slant, because then they would just use momentum to push the ships out. And I'm talking like big Phoenician, warships.
Wow.
Which is crazy. So then in terms of the connection with the flamenco and why they call that place the oldest tablao flamenco in Spain, so probably means in the world, is that they were, ancient dancers, and they were poets that captured about these ancient dancers that were called the Gaditanae, sorry. And these are Cadiz dancers who played castanet-like crotalos and performed sensual rhythmic dances for soldiers and nobles.
Okay.
Go figure what they were doing.
Yeah.
But, again, it's a port. There's a lot of mariners and women are performing, sexy dancers trying to get the attention of men. Okay. So then these ancient dancers are considered what are called the proto-flamenco performers. So before flamenco, and it blended African, Phoenician, Iberian rhythms before the word flamenco actually existed. So that's where they think that the flamenco comes from. So they were these women dancing from Cadiz. So the cave is called the Bluebird Cave because that was the name of a very, very famous smuggler from that time.
All right.
And those caves, after, thousands of years after they were used for the original purpose by the Phoenicians, they were then used for the smuggling of mainly tobacco and anything that they wanted to get into the city that they didn't want to be taxed on.
Okay.
So that's where the kind of Bluebird comes from. And the other thing that I think is just, we could have a whole episode on the cave, so I'm not going to go that far into the detail. But I think it's pretty interesting that when it comes to the actual discovery of the cave, etc., again, we go back to the sherry, right? There was a winery that was right in front of the cave.
Okay.
They wanted to expand the winery. I want to say the gentleman that had the winery was this Manuel Fedriani. That's it. So the local bodega in 1958, he uncovered the cave accidentally. So they were expanding the winery from one side of the street to the other.
Right.
And one of the builders in the building process heard this clonk, 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 clonk. It's like, I think there's something down there. And they head down there, and all of a sudden, they find in 1958 these caves that had been hidden for over 2,000 years.
Wow.
So when they realize what it was, he then decides, we're going to open this cave and give it a commercial focus.
Right.
And then officially, this is very, very cool because the area before was not in a nice part of town. So there were a lot of prostitutes and whatever. And when he discovered this cave in the 50s, people said to him, you can't open like a nice flamenco place here. Who's going to come here? Like, this is the bad part of town. Like, and he said, okay, I'll do something that no one can, forget or avoid coming to. He hosted the first like flamenco competition in Spain to pay the winner 5,000 pesetas, which was like a salary of a year, which was a lot of money. Yeah. So he brought in people like Camarón de la Isla, La Perla de Cadiz, all these people who were like unbelievable that they were there, and people had to go, even if it was in the not nice part of town. So it had its golden era from that time until 85 is when it closed. But people who were there, like royalty, Julio Iglesias, and it was the official place when someone big came to town for a concert where they had the after parties. So
that's kind of cool.
Only God knows what that cave has seen is the only thing I will say. But, who knows? But they still do, even like the day after we went.
Yeah,
they had a private event for 2 people who rented out the cave.
So
please, if you're in Cadiz, check it out. During the day, it's an archaeological visit.
Oh,
so during the day, you go visit the actual Phoenician historical part. And at night, if you're lucky and you that's the day that they have the flamenco show, you can go watch the flamenco.
And they don't always have the same performers.
No, it rotates.
Yeah.
They have new people. And again, he was very proud to share. And I think it's pretty cool that, they pay the people well. And it's not like one of these places that they're just kind of like the same people every night where it becomes repetitive. So it's a very cool place. I'm very thankful and grateful that we had that experience. I'm very grateful for Germán to take the time. He actually sent me a bunch of documentation. I feel like we could do one last kind of interesting bit of information. The first documentary to be shot in color in Europe was shot in there by the German television.
Oh, why?
Don't know. But that's where they did it. And he sent me a link to YouTube where you can go watch it.
Oh, that's interesting.
It's a really cool little place.
I think the biggest takeaway from all the places that we've gone, in the last how many ever months is that we've somehow managed to meet people that are very passionate about what they do. And we're really seeing the authentic side of all these towns. And I mean, you were born here.
Yeah, so, but I have to say I was born here. I've probably learned more about my own country since starting this podcast than in the prior 39 years of my life. So it is amazing.
Yeah, we've been really fortunate that whatever it is, if it's flamenco in a cave, horses,
it's not caves, I don't know why.
Oil, it doesn't matter. Wherever we've gone, we're so privileged to be able to meet people who are very passionate and just very honest in their journey, in what they're producing or putting out there.
My husband has a new favorite word.
Which is?
Dale.
Oh,
Ole! Dale! Dale means like hit it, right? Yeah. He thinks it's hilarious. It's like, but because they say it to encourage each other, right? As they're doing the show. But yeah, it's I'm really, really happy with the trip, and really recommend for people to have that experience, and try and look for the authentic places, try and look for the tradition. And who knows, there may be a flamenco class for Nalini and I in the works.
We'll see about that.
You can see that on socials. Okay, slice of life.
Slice of life.
So before we dive into our slice of life, quick shout out to our amazing partner, GoCo Energy. You have to try this.
That's right, Laura. GoCo is energy done right, made with coconut water, natural caffeine, and real fruit flavors. No crash, no jitters, just clean, feel-good energy that actually tastes amazing.
It's perfect, right? Whether you're working, traveling, or just keeping your creative spark alive, basically it keeps you in that go mode.
I agree. I'm not necessarily a fan of all energy drinks, but this is one that I truly enjoy. My favorite flavor so far is pineapple, and you can order it straight from gocoenergy.com. That's GOKO energy.com. Shipped right to your door.
So hydrating, refreshing, and honestly, it just makes everything flow better. Slice of Life.
Yay.
Season 5.
Yeah.
Brought to you by GoCo.
Right. So we're doing this little our torta?
Yes, our torta, which we kind of fell in love with the last season and in the last episode. We've got it here with some avocado oil. You want to talk a little bit about avocados in the South?
Well, one thing that, people who live here probably know this, but for those that don't, the south of Spain is a huge producer of fruit. And all of Andalusia, fruit, vegetables, because of the heat. So they have the right climate and the soil and the temperature to be able to produce, I would say, a very large percentage of the fruit that is grown here in the country. So avocados being one of them. Also, oddly enough, I thought mangoes were imported.
I thought so too. But no, you're right. Because now they started to show up with these Mercadona mangoes that are from Spain.
Yes, and from Andalusia. So because it's warm enough for it to grow there, and mango's a tropical fruit.
Right.
And they have such a long growing season. So today we're just having this with some avocado oil, which we actually happen to get
from Alicante.
From the food fair.
And we have here some salt from the Atlantic, which you can actually see as you're driving around Cadiz. Mm-hmm. There are these like marshlands with these big mountains of salt.
Yeah, so
which I always think there's kind of this kind of June vibe, like you know what I mean, like the movie Dune.
Oh, like
is that how you say it?
Yeah,
yeah. I don't know. It's always when you see the marshlands and you see the salt mountains,
right?
I always find it just something like very unique.
Okay, so we went from. You guys had a day in Sevilla. Mm-hmm. We met you guys there. We didn't have time to stay, so we're keeping Sevilla in our back pocket for a completely separate trip. We did that. We drove an hour. I say we. There's only one person driving. So like we're all driving.
Yeah, we're all at the same time.
Your husband Jeff is doing the driving and the parking and the navigating the small streets. So thank you to Jeff. So we drove to Cadiz and then checked in. Then we did all of that, went to Jerez the next day, drove back the next day to Sevilla, and then you guys I went to Valencia to come home, and then you guys went to
Thanksgiving.
To do Thanksgiving. Ready? And you guys went to a techno concert in Madrid.
Yes. So, Slice of Life, we're going to talk about Time Warp. So, Time Warp, please invite us next year. We did not get any sponsorship from Time Warp for this, but I will say that it is a super cool event. So Time Warp, I think it's German. It's a German techno brand. And they have like massive festivals, not just in Spain. So I believe this is the second year that they did it at IFEMA. Now, IFEMA is like the IFA in Alicante, where we went to the gastronomic Alicante, but for the Madrid version of it.
Okay.
It's massive. I think they have like 9 pavilions or something. So remember where we were in the IFA in Alicante?
Right.
That was 1 pavilion.
Right.
So imagine like 8 of those.
Well, that's where they do Madrid Fashion Week.
Yeah, it's huge.
Yeah.
And I think it's really cool because they must have a lot of logistical power to be able to turn these events around so quickly, because I thought it was really funny as we were walking up to this place, they had that day earlier, my daughter likes to watch like this Pollito Pio, these videos on YouTube. They had like this show from all these cartoon animals there.
Oh, okay.
In the afternoon.
Wow.
And by the time we walked in, it was a huge, massive techno event. So a big turnaround in a very short space of time. So this was 10 p.m. to 6 a.m. on Friday and Saturday. And like I said, I already want to go next year because it was very, very special. Lots of lighting kind of effects and everything. So you feel like you are part of something. There had to be, at least when we first walked in, it started kind of drip feeding the amount of people. Right. I actually felt a little bit bad because the first DJ must have come out to no one because they had some issue at the door or something where people came in 20 minutes late. So imagine being a DJ, like a famous DJ, and you come out to an arena where there's supposed to be like 20 or 30,000 people and there's no one there. So when we walked in, the guy was already doing his set. I'm like, oh, okay, this is weird. But let's just say that the collection of people was very eclectic. We saw a guy dressed like Batman, like full-on Batman gear. Wow. We seen a guy in a kimono with sunglasses. So it's very interesting. People of all ages, obviously 18 plus, but people of all ages.
Right.
And very, very well set up. And that's the one thing, I think if you're going to like a big kind of music event in Spain, one thing you can count on is that they do a lot of these through the year. It's usually pretty well organized. And, yes, if you're going to a concert of someone famous, expect that sometimes it's going to be late.
Right.
But in this case, it's like, okay, 10 p.m. one, 11 p.m. another,
wow,
12
really
p.m.
good.
Yes. And like no changeover time because they want people to kind of feel the beat, you could say, and keep going. And even like, the whole place, the whole pavilion was like the bars were all the way around. So there was no queue even.
Oh, very well done.
I
think they do concerts actually very well in Madrid.
Yes.
They really do.
I would definitely go to another event at the IFEMA.
Right.
It's extremely easy to get to. I mean, it's like a taxi away. So I was really, really impressed. If you like techno, I would definitely, but it is like definitely hard techno. I have very particular music taste because I would also go to a metal event and all these kind of things. But I think the tie-in or the connection is just the adrenaline. It's just, being in this kind of high adrenaline environment.
You were with the horses, then the flamenco, and then the techno, and then
the huge meal yesterday at your house. And then I was ready
today recording. You know what's going to happen tonight? It's going to be like a crash. I'll call you tomorrow. Laura. Oh
my God. Yeah, and a bunch of work meetings. Yeah.
On a completely separate note, I just found this out yesterday, but the NFL is playing an official game in Madrid.
When?
November 15th.
What?
It's the Commanders and
They did it in London
Dolphins or something.
So the Dolphins, I believe, they did it in London once. They do this where they try to give the NFL.
They played yesterday because that's why the NFL
in London.
Yes, that's why my husband had it on the TV during Thanksgiving, and my son called me and I said, well, what are you doing? He's like, 7 hours of football. My son's in the States. So he's like on the couch ready to order his wild wing order and whatever. He's like 7 hours of football. And I said, oh, Dad had some football match on. And he's like, oh, that's whoever played in London. And he's like, why don't you guys go to Madrid in November? And I said, for what? He's like, the NFL. They have a game.
I'm super curious to know where they're doing that.
Whatever. I looked at tickets. The tickets aren't that expensive, so I want to go.
There's not a huge following for American football here, so let's talk about it because that may be something we can do.
Right. It would be fun, right?
Yeah,
on a Sunday
absolutely.
to go. Yeah, I think it would be fun.
Sunday football in Madrid. Well, everyone, thank you very much for joining us for this first episode of our very exciting season that we have ahead of us. We are going to continue to explore the South and expect Sevilla, expect Malaga, and some really interesting things coming up in this season. Thank you very much for joining us.
Thank you. Bye for now. The Made in Spain podcast is fueled by GoCo Energy, refreshingly real energy that keeps the good vibes going.